to Nandini Ketan. Nandini, thank you so much for joining us today. It's so lovely to have you.
Thank you, Ashima. Thank you, Bhavna. Thank you so much for having this conversation, and thank you for inviting me to be a part of it.
So lovely to have you, Nandini. And jumping straight to our first question to you on the occasion is, would you say it is equally difficult for men and women in demanding professions like ours, to strike a work-life balance and continue to, or would you say that women continue to get the shorter end of the stick, given our gendered responsibilities that we have to carry forward?
So the short answer to that is still we keep asking this question. I think we are on the short end. The day we don't have to ask this question anymore is the day we are not at the shorter end of the stick for sure. There is no question on it.
So, Nandini, what has been your experience in terms of, your journey in law, and what would be the instances that you can share with us in terms of how you have fought through all this?
So, my journey has been, everybody's journey is unique. Somebody is a first generation lawyer and has, access barriers. Some people have, they are already married and they have issues. Everybody has a very unique and a different journey. Mine was unique in the sense that my family were in the profession of law for a good 190 years before I decided I wanted to go down the route. And surprisingly, there hadn't been any. And my family is really great. I mean, they're all pro education, very pro women education. It just happened that women hadn't chosen to go down the legal path. And I grew up in a house which kind of had three men wearing a black jacket and leaving the house in the morning. So I kind of just grew up thinking that's what I want to do. But it still took everybody by surprise. No one said no. But they were taken aback that you'll do a 5-year course. What about marriage? And because at that time, this is 25 years back, right? I graduated in 2004. I started in 99. So in 99, the idea of doing a 5-year law course for a woman, it wasn't. Yeah. It wasn't a very done thing.
Yeah, families, yes.
Nobody in my family had also done it, and we were lawyers. So
yeah,
to that extent, it was different. And then I said I wanted to join office, and that was again, another surprising sort of decision for my family. I think I didn't have as much struggle in that sense, except for the fact that the surprise that I sprung on the family. But when we opened the Bombay office, I shifted from Calcutta as a part of the founding team. I was an intern then, but I was part of the team that went to Bombay. And nobody had really interacted with Ketan and Company as much as, some of the councils hadn't even heard of the firm. So we literally sort of worked ground up to build the relations, to build our presence in court and all of that. And I think that's where, all the sort of journey and the learning and all came in. So those 10 years in Bombay were really crucial to my journey, both as a lawyer, as a junior, and as to how to navigate a situation as a woman in a man's world started.
Thanks, Nandini, for sharing that. In fact, interestingly, I've heard from, read somewhere that when you started your journey in the courts, you were accustomed to wearing a certain kind of an outfit, maybe even, skirts or something, but it irked you to see the atmosphere and, you had to choose to dress differently. Now, that happens to the most of us, and it continues to happen. What would be your take on this? Like, why in this current day and age, even in the courts, we have to worry about all this?
So I think we should stop thinking so much about why is it so wrong, why is it such a big problem. I think we have to accept it that there is a problem, and then do our best to work around it. I think you have to be, and I've said this in a lot of forums, I'm possibly sounding repetitive now, but I say that you have to be comfortable. You need to be efficient and you need to be comfortable, whatever that may be in. So for the example, the skirt incident that you mentioned, I used to go wearing a skirt in Bombay High Court, and that's like a par for the course out there actually. And very often I had to sit in city civil court, which is also the criminal court for the city, and I would be sitting on the same benches as a lot of the under trials in handcuffs, and I would have people staring. Now, if that doesn't bother you, that's perfectly okay. It bothered me, so I started wearing maybe salwar kameez or pants. It kind of interfered with my process of I was thinking about that rather than my case, and that's not something I want to be doing. Now I can think that shouldn't happen, but that's not going to really help me, right? So you work around situations. Everybody has to adapt to problems. Gender issues become common, and that's why we discuss it. But everybody has to go through issues, and you have to learn to work around them. Of course, you stand up very strongly for what you think. For example, when I came back to Calcutta and I continued to wear skirts in Calcutta because I was simply going only to High Court, then some seniors remarked that the skirt is so short, and that's obviously not the case. But what I realized was that they hadn't seen women in skirts, and it was kind of very jarring for them, and it took away from the seriousness of my work. So I was like, it doesn't bother me enough to just have to wear a kurta or this thing, and I decided to do that because to me it was a distraction that people were discussing that rather than work. So for my efficiency and comfort perspective, I changed. But there could be somebody who's equally comfortable not being bothered by it, and I would say go for it. So different strokes for different folks, but I think the conversation will change when you see enough people wearing skirts, when you see enough people, so when you see enough of a similar situation happening, it's not a sort of a, like a sore thumb.
Odd one out, yeah, sore thumb out. Very true, Nandini. Very well pointed out. One question that also comes to mind when we're discussing all this is, how should companies or in general organizations, what would be your thought on this, that organizations try to retain women in the workforce? We have, it's no news to anybody. Women have their, priorities in life set maybe a little more differently than others. Some women may choose to take a break for their marriage or, the childcare or so on and so forth. Now, how can companies become more sensitive towards this? How can organizations do better at retaining women along with all this? What would be your thought in that?
I think my answer to this is at two levels. Let's face facts that companies, corporations, corporate India, or any business place is always going to look at profitability, is always going to look at the best commercial decisions for themselves, no matter what we say, right? So I think it's up. So at a very sort of a level from the corporation side's perspective, I think women just need to work a little harder, maybe because of the circumstances they are in, to show that they are so damn good that the company wants to will fight to retain them. And I have seen such brilliant women come through the doors in the last few years. I had an intern who was absolutely fantastic. She was the topper of her law school, and her thought processes were I think miles, years ahead of somebody who was a fresher. And after 2 years in Calcutta litigation, she said that I can't do this anymore because I'm not cut out for litigation, late night conferences. In Calcutta, we have it very late at night, and so she wanted to do the whole policy sort of space, and I really wanted her to stay. So I think the fact that she was so good, made me want to fight for her. So I think that if somebody is that good with their work, the companies will automatically be incentivized to do that. So that's something on us women to start with. I mean, we also have to do our bit too, because we know that we're already at a disadvantage. So we kind of have to work that little harder to make sure that they want to keep us no matter what. I think, we can say that should not be the case, but again, let's face facts. And as far as from the company's perspective is concerned, which is the real struggle or real story really comes in, I think India has done well with the Maternity Act. It's one of the most progressive acts in the world. 26 weeks of paid leave is hardly any other country in the world has that kind of thing. In my article on Firm Women, I've given the statistics, I think, on Singapore, US, and some European countries, none compared to how fabulous India has been in this particular respect. So I think it's already a step in the right direction. But what firms can or companies can do is that, give more internships to women consciously. I'm not saying it as a tokenism, because that doesn't help. If you're going to reserve one spot for a woman associate, or you're going to reserve one spot for an intern, you're just going to be doing that, and unless that person is brilliant, you're not going to do anything further than that. I'm saying if you find 4 resumes which are all equally brilliant, then maybe try and pick more of the women from that to give them a chance. I wouldn't say that give hire women for the sake of tokenism or to show a diversity sort of a thing, because that doesn't help in the end. So yes, if you have 4 equally good resumes, give the chance to the women. You have to, so I know of a company who wanted their women to understand numbers as well as the men did, because somehow men always took commerce and the women didn't as many. So that company actually put out a training program for the women in their company to understand how to read a balance sheet. And that's really true empowerment, where you work ground up, I think. So you need to create these kind of, sort of opportunities for women to upskill themselves to really kind of, have a level playing field.
Very well said, Nandini. I think initiatives like those where we actually do something to ensure parity in our workplaces is something everyone needs to come on board with, and to take these initiatives.
Another example that really quickly comes to mind is that in my firm we have a partner who was a young mom, and she'd taken a maternity leave, and she was very, very fearful for her partnership, because she reached the partner track, but she had to take a sabbatical, the maternity, and she wasn't sure that the firm would take her seriously, because she was, but she didn't know if the firm would realize that. But our firm did that, and they gave her the partnership, immediately. And she was really she was so happy with that. And in my mind, she shouldn't have even had to worry.
Yeah.
But that's something that women have to worry about. And so until they have that worry, I think we're not doing enough.
That's true. Very well pointed out, Nandini, that it's the fears that play, in our minds, that, whether, even though all of us know and go through the same cycles, even women to women, we tend to have the same insecurities that, I might lose out on my partner track or my road to leadership roles. I think that continues to plague many of us. But it's great to have people like you and others who are doing their bit in their organizations to, eliminate these fears for women. One parting note from you for our women on this occasion, what would be your one piece of advice to lawyers and other women?
So, I always like to quote my very good friend Madhvi Diwan on this, that tenacity is really the best friend for a woman in this profession. You just have to keep going at it. We have to accept that our tracks might be a little slower because of various issues. We do have the added responsibilities of home and family. So we may have a little bumpier ride, perhaps, especially if you're in litigation, because then it's bound with court proceedings and court deadlines. But tenacity and just keeping at it is, I think, the best advice I can repeat, if I may say that. That if you just keep at it, you will get that. But it's heartbreaking, but it's definitely heartbreaking. But sometimes it's not possible to keep everything going at one time, and it's overwhelming. But if in some capacity you keep it going and you keep working at it, it gets better and it will happen. And I think with the number of women studying law now, or getting educated, the infrastructure, the space will change, because you have to do it to accommodate that many number of women who are there or coming in.
Thank you so much, Nandini, for your lovely thoughts and sharing your day with us. So thank you so much for being a part of this conference. Very happy Women's Day to you, and we look forward to hearing more of your thoughts in our other events. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.